What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Dog Pound Discussions. The NFL Draft is in the books. It has been quite the weekend, but joining me today, I have a special guest, a world-renowned producer, somebody who is known by pretty much everybody. Joining me today is none other than DJ Calorie himself.
I called that one.
You did not.
As soon as you said producer, you did not even see me mouth DJ Khaled. Why
Well,
is there grilled cheese?
That's what you do. What do you mean? That's you.
Why? Why do you do this to me every week, Derek?
I would like to, we're not sponsored by them, but shout out to Snapchat for these weekly little intros. So, yeah, DJ Calorie, how you doing?
I think that suits Ostino better, but yeah, sure, we'll go with that.
Whatever, dude. Whatever.
How's your hand?
Honestly, it's dead serious. It's starting to, like, I don't want to say chip. That's not the right word, but like that skin that was just burnt is starting to kind of peel off. And it hurts. It's like that sting is still there a little bit. You know what I mean? When you peel some dead skin, whatever.
Boo-hoo.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying it's kind of funny because I forgot about it. And then all of a sudden, like 2 days ago, I'm like, oh man, it's starting to. Anyway, nobody cares about that. NFL Draft, Tony, in the books. It's been a interesting weekend, huh?
Our first round purgatory is over. Finally, I'm happy. The Deshaun Watson trade is complete.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, now we can make all the comparisons. The Texans built a super team. We got mediocre quarterback play in a cheesesteak restaurant, courtesy of the Cleveland Browns.
Hey, at least if you're sad, you can go get some food, right?
Yeah, go to Lefty's Cheesesteaks.
Yeah, there you go.
Bask in the disappointment.
Cheap.
I can't wait. I can't wait till we move to Brook Park and people are tailgating at Sheets at 9 in the morning.
Hey,
Ostino's not going to miss a game.
Bro, there could be worse places to tailgate. I mean, but nevertheless.
Dante's?
Oh, dude. Well, and even like the Muni lot is great. Don't get me wrong. But you don't want children in the Muni lot. Like it's not a safe environment. I'll say it that way. So, Sheets.
Not with you roaming around.
Yeah, what? Okay. NFL Draft, the Browns, Tony, before we even get into it, I was shocked that we made no trades during the draft.
Yeah, I agree.
None at all. The Browns go into it with second round, third round, fifth round, sixth, and then 2 7ths. I thought for sure at the bare minimum the 2 7ths were going to be traded. We rarely make a 7th round pick. But Browns made all their picks. So, nevertheless, unless you have anything else you want to say before we get into it.
Yeah, I have to agree with that statement. I mean, I really thought we were going to make some trades. I thought maybe we could move like one of our defensive backfield players, honestly. I kept waiting for it and it just didn't happen. But, I can't complain too much. I mean, what are you going to do? This is your, third year without a first-round pick? So, at that point, what are you going to do?
Yeah, I mean, in the last, Tristan, my buddy Tristan, Tony knows Tristan, he brought this up to me yesterday. In the last 6 years, the Browns have made 2 first-round picks with Jedrick Wills and Greg Newsome. Or maybe it's 5, whatever. But Jedrick Wills and Greg Newsome have been the last 2 first-round picks for the Browns. Greg Newsome's about to have his 5th-year option picked up. Jed already had his 5th-year option picked up. So it's just kind of, it's crazy. Time flies, and, here we are. But without further ado... Time flies
when you're watching shitty football, yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I guess so. But without further ado... further ado, I'll let you go first with the first pick for the Cleveland Browns, pick number 54 in the second round.
So, this English is difficult tonight, Derek, isn't it?
Listen.
Whatever. This is a guy that we did have mocked to us, I believe, last week. And we picked up Michael Hall from Ohio State. And I love the pick. It's a great pickup for the Browns. Like I said last week, if he could drop 30, 40 pounds, we can maybe use him as some type of edge, hybrid, linebacker type spot if injuries pile up again or if we want to throw some wrinkles at teams. Uh, Loaded D tackle room, so I really do think he's a guy that's going to have to find a spot elsewhere and probably put some muscle on and turn some of that fat into muscle to be more productive his rookie season. Otherwise, he may not see much action this year and might just be able to develop behind guys like Shelby Harris and our other defensive tackles. And I mean, I don't hate it either way. If we could get him on the field, I think he'd be an X factor for the defense when he's called upon. But I love the pick. Honestly, it's the right pick for who was left at the time. I have zero complaints. I think it's a great pickup. Honestly, I think Andrew Berry killed the first two picks of this draft. We'll get into the more of the later picks later on, but Derek, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll kind of talk about who was there later that kind of surprised me and what I would have done. But yeah, the Browns went with defensive tackle Michael Hall Jr. out of Ohio State. Just for context, he's 6'2", 280 pounds. He weighed in around 300 at his pro day, so that was a big thing. Kid from Streetsboro High School, so a Cleveland area kid. Shout out to Wesley. You know, Mike Hall Jr. is 20 years old. I'm 21, right? And I've been watching Mike Hall Jr. dominate at Ohio State for like the past 2-3 years. So if you look at it from that standpoint, this is a guy who is like 18 years old bullying grown men, right? At a big school at Ohio State. And listen, he had a great Senior Bowl, right? Put on a show. And historically, if you have a pretty good Senior Bowl, it translates well to the NFL. I'm not saying the Senior Bowl is everything, but most recently, a guy like Tank Dell, who there was a lot of question marks about him. People didn't really know what he was going to be. He had a really good Senior Bowl. You know, and it goes for every position. Quarterback, Dak Prescott was a Senior Bowl quarterback and had a good performance, ends up going to the Cowboys, and the rest is history. But back to Mike Hall, he's been great. And what is best about him is he's a pass rusher. He's a 3-tech impact pass rusher. That is what he does. Now, Jim Schwartz, this is clearly a Jim Schwartz pick. If you look at his career, he has always had that one guy who is an instant impact interior pass rusher. You can think of a guy like Ndamukong Suh in Jim Schwartz past, and there's many more. But he fits all the criteria of kind of what we're looking for. We don't really have a young guy who can pass rush from the inside. You know, and again, at 20 years old, he's only going to get better. And he's got great hand technique. He's violent, but he's also slippery. Like, he's not just going to beat you one way. And I think watching him over these last couple years here in Columbus, Tony, the one thing that blows me away is even though people say he's not bigger and he's not like this big physical threat as a defensive tackle, I have seen him, and again, offensive line, defensive line, it's all about leverage. It's all about technique. It's all about leverage. And the way that he kind of plants his foot in the ground, anchors, and just shoves the man in front of him around is insane. It is absolutely insane. But like I mentioned, he can also beat you with his speed. He can beat you with quickness. He can beat you with power. So what's the negative? He's been knocked over the course of his career so far for being a little bit inconsistent, which again, as young as he is,
he's young, yeah.
Yeah.
He's a very young player.
You're gonna have that. So all in all, I think this is an outstanding pick. I think that he's going to be a significant starter for the Browns. I think he's going to be really good. Now, Tony, you mentioned it, and maybe we should talk about this a little bit. The defensive tackle depth now. You have Mo Hurst, who you brought back, Shelby Harris, who you brought back. You signed Quentin Jefferson. You, of course, had Dalvin Tomlinson, who's the head up of that group, and then Siaki Ika sitting there. And we'll talk about another defensive tackle who we drafted late. I guess how do you see that room shaking out? Do you think Ika has some fire under him?
I think it all just comes down to it's going to be a camp competition, and I think whoever performs. Obviously, I don't see Michael Hall getting cut. If anything, maybe a short stint on the practice squad. My only worry is someone would probably pick him up. If that were to be the case.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
Uh, we'll see what happens in camp. I mean, if Siaki Ika has a fire under his belly and performs well and finds a way to stay on this team, I could see maybe him getting shipped out, or I could see maybe Mo Hurts getting shipped out for a draft pick or somewhere along those lines. Obviously, Tomlinson, Shelby Harris, guys that are probably not going to go anywhere this year, barring injury, barring some kind of off the field situation. Uh, it's a great pick for the future. I don't look for him to start right away. Obviously, nobody should expect him to start right away. He's currently listed as a number 2, I believe, on our depth chart. And I mean, he'll definitely get some rotational minutes, but definitely a good future pick. I love it. Anything else you want to add on Michael Hall, or do you want to move on to the next pick?
Last thing I'll say, as far as what you just mentioned about getting in rotation, I do think he will see the field. Right, Jordan Elliott was on the field and he played well this past year. And you got to think he's gone. The Browns signed Quentin Jefferson. How much of that balance is going to be there? I think they're going to take their time and develop him, but especially middle to back half of the season, I think you're going to see him getting involved
I agree.
somehow.
I agree completely. So we'll move on to our round 3 pick here. And this is a pick, I'll just straight up say before I go, I'll let Derek go first on this one. I loved it. Zach Zinter out of Michigan. He played guard, he played center at Michigan. Derek, what are your thoughts on this pickup?
Yeah, I think this has the potential to be one of the biggest steals of the draft. Zach Zinter, 6'6", 309 pounds. He played right guard at Michigan for the most part. Like you mentioned, he played center as well, so he does have some versatility if need be. 23 years old. And listen, this dude, the story with him is kind of simple, right? He was the best offensive lineman on Michigan teams that were dominant up front. And he is one of these guys, 0 sacks allowed on 287 pass blocking attempts. So that should tell you all you need to know. I want to say he only gave up 4 sacks his entire college career. The dude got hurt, broken tibia, and I can't pronounce whatever.
Fibia.
Yeah,
Fibia.
yeah, he broke
Fibula.
that. Yeah, fibula. In November, ironically against Ohio State, and just so happens that fate comes down to the fact that one Mike Hall Jr. was the one who got shoved into him, and ultimately ended up ending his season at Michigan. So it's funny how those two kind of end up on the same team. And it's kind of funny how the Browns go Buckeye, Wolverine, top 2 picks. But kind of wrapping up here, at least on my side of things, like, listen, he's legit. He's legit. And he was a captain for that team. They rallied behind him. He's got all the size, all the strength. He's a bully. He's physical. He'll get to the next level and throw you on the ground. Tony, at least in my eyes, obviously he's not starting this season,
No,
but
there's no way.
I think this is our long-term right guard. I think the Browns
Absolutely.
trade Wyatt Teller probably after next season, and I think Zinter takes over. And honestly, I don't want to get ahead of myself. I think when it comes time for Batonio to leave, kind of that veteran leadership and also a great player, I think Zinter could be that for the Browns. I think he could be that good. But all in all, great value. But what did you when the pick was announced, what was your reaction?
I loved it. I mean, this is a guy that was, again, we mocked him, I believe, in our draft. I love the pick. This is a guy that was the heart and soul of these Michigan teams. And his injury, as you can see, that whole team rallied around him. And maybe a little bit of a hot take here. What do you think about the potential of Zinter playing this year, but not at guard? What if they're just like, hey, you want to play some center? Could you imagine Teller, Zinter, and Batonio as our middle three with Wills and DeJuan Jones on the tackles?
So personally, I don't think that happens unless
No.
there's
We're
mass.
talking, yeah, we're talking
Yeah.
injury hypothetical right now. I
I,
wouldn't hate it if it had to happen. I wouldn't hate it. That's all I'm just.
if they needed to, yeah, I could see it. But I want to ask you this because Tony, I kind of feel like the center to right tackle position is set for the next 3-4 years. You have Luke Whippler, Zach Zinter, and DeJuan Jones now.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of set. So
Unless we ship off Jed Wills and move DeJuan Jones to left tackle.
yeah,
But
I mean, could happen, but dude, he's a leader.
no. For anyone that doesn't watch much college football, I'll just give you an example. Michael Cozy loved this pick. And if you know Michael Cozy, the fact that Zinter went to Michigan and he was openly excited on Twitter. That tells me all I need to know. Even if I didn't watch any tape on the kid, if I didn't watch him play football every week, that tells me all I need to know right there. Like, I'm sold.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy about it. I'm thrilled about the pick. I love it. This is kind of where, after our first two picks, Andrew Berry kind of turned the stove down to simmer instead of cook. But all in all, I can't complain. I mean, fuck, no first round pick,
Mm-hmm.
no fourth round pick, late third round pick. I mean, you work with what you got. We didn't make no trades. Moving on, Jamari Thrash out of Louisville, wide receiver. We did address the wide receiver position, but a lot of people were upset by this selection. And I mean, I don't hate it, but it tells me that Cedric Tillman may have a little bit bigger of a future on this team than we think still. Tillman may not be in danger of being shipped off or cut or, this is like a hit or miss hit or hit or miss pick. There we go. English difficult.
We're
10 o'clock.
struggling tonight.
It's 10 o'clock. It's late. We're old. I've seen people comparing Jamari Thrash to Anthony Schwartz. That's what I want to know. How do you feel about that?
No. Listen, I think you're kind of spot on. I think this is a hit or miss type of pick, right? I did a lot of work on receiver, and we'll kind of get to that later as far as who was there for the Browns to grab at receiver.
Yeah. I will say that there was other options that I would have rather went with, but I'm not going to complain about a fifth round pick.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If it works, awesome. If it doesn't, it's a fifth round pick. But just as far as Jamari Thrash as a player, so he's 6 foot, 188 pounds. Ran a 4.46 40. He's a very fascinating player. He is one of these guys you can't really, like, I don't know. I wish I could sit here and say, nope, he's going to be great. But I also can't sit here and say, no, he's going to suck. Like, he has a lot of talent. He has really good speed. It's more so of a quickness than speed. But he's really good kind of stopping on a dime as far as in and out of his routes. And it's the tale of two stories with Jamari Thrash. At Louisville, he was a deep vertical threat, a lot of hitch routes, those sorts of things. And just real quick, as far as a comparison, I kind of see him maybe being like a Will Fuller type for the Browns. But that's Louisville. You go back to Georgia State, where he was at before he had transferred, they were using him all over the field. He ran every route on the route tree. He was consistent, and that's the number one thing. He's a very smart player. Like, Jamari Thrash is a very high football IQ player. He consistently in college got first downs. He was a chain mover.
Yeah, definitely a lot of first downs out of Thrash. A guy that is going to get you a pretty good, yards per catch average, move the chains for you. And like you said, hit or miss. Like I said, hit or miss. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, okay, fifth round pick, whatever. Yeah. But yeah, I had no complaints.
So here's kind of the question mark with him, though. He's very thin. He's
Yeah.
very thin. And he kind of struggles with contact. He struggles with press. So, if you use him in certain ways, he can be really good. Like, I would not be surprised if Jamari Thrash is a deep threat guy, kind of a speed guy that we bring in, just to use as somebody who can take the top off the defense. And I know, Elijah Moore, sorry. Who is Anthony Schwartz? You mentioned it.
Schwartz, yeah.
You know what the difference between Jamari Thrash and Anthony Schwartz is?
Jamari Thrash can catch the football.
He can catch the football and he knows how to run routes.
Yeah.
He can run routes. So, I like him. I do. But it's what you mentioned. He's a 5th round pick. So we're not tied to him. But also, you got to factor in this too. You're going to find out how good this receiver class was. This class is deep.
Deep.
Very deep. So just because he's a 5th round pick, I wouldn't write him off, but at the same time, I wouldn't get your hopes up. He certainly has a role on this team for sure, because he brings that speed element, that quickness element, that we don't have a whole lot of. So I think he does have a role, but if it works, awesome. But if it doesn't, you're not tied to him.
Yeah, you're not mad about it.
Yeah.
I think, we got to learn how to beat the press for him, beat him. He doesn't like contact, skinny guy. A lot of motion. If we're going to put him on the field, I'd like to see a lot of motion out of him, get him a running start, get him in space. But moving on to, and I love this guy's name, our 6th round pick, Nathaniel Watson.
I wonder if he lives in a trailer.
I don't know.
Probably not. Yeah, not anymore.
Linebacker out of Mississippi State. So, again, another late round pick that it's kind of like, all right, doesn't work out, so be it. But it does work out. AB looks like a genius. Derek, what are your thoughts on Watson? Another Watson on the roster.
Yeah, we now have 2 Watsons on the roster. I don't know if that's a good thing.
Three, right? The tight end is like, we have a Watson as a tight end, don't we?
No.
Are we not? Am I tripping?
Yeah, because we have Njoku, Aikens, and then the dude we signed out of Carolina, Ricci or whatever. He's like a fullback tight end.
Who am I thinking of? We used to have a Watson.
Leroy Watson was the tackle. Yeah.
That's who I'm thinking of.
Yep.
Yeah. Oops.
Oh well.
Late. It's late.
Nevertheless, another Watson on the team. I think at this point, I would be surprised if any of these bottom 3 guys make the roster. I think Watson has the best chance. He's 6'2", 245. He's kind of an old school style of linebacker. He's a box, run defend type of linebacker. That's what you're going to use him as. He had 31 tackles for loss, 21 sacks since 2021. He's interesting. I think he does have a skill set, but the problem is Buddy's been in college forever.
Long time. Yeah.
He was in college for a long, long time. And another major red flag, at least for me, doesn't really have the solo tackles, which is concerning. So,
I mean, like you said, it's a fringe guy that likely won't make the roster. It's linebacker depth, which is something we need. That might be what saves his ass, is the fact that there's just barely anybody left in that linebacker room. But he definitely has to get better at getting penetration on his own, wrapping up, getting some solo tackles. I mean, the guy's basically a senior citizen instead of a super senior at this point, so he should definitely be developed enough. But there's not much really to say about the last 2 draft picks.
Special teams. He has to make an impact.
Yeah. Miles Harden, cornerback out of South Dakota, another body in the defensive backfield. Again, another fringe guy. I cannot talk tonight. Another fringe guy that'll probably be a special teams contributor if he makes the roster. And I'm not mad about that. I mean, I'll take all the bodies we can get, especially after last year and all the injuries we dealt with. Decent cornerback, but again, probably a guy that's going to make more of an impact on special teams for the Browns and his NFL future. Derek?
Yeah, if he makes the team, which I think he would be lucky to make the team, I just kind of I think our cornerback room is set. So I
Stacked,
view
yeah.
him. He's probably a practice squad guy. He's not terrible. 5'11", 195 pounds. Really good tackler, zone corner. He's physical. Struggles with press, or I'm sorry, yeah, struggles with press. Also has dealt with some injuries. You don't want him, as far as him being a cornerback, you don't want him playing outside. Like, he is a nickel corner at best. He does not have long arms, which is,
No,
it's, as a corner, that's a red flag, especially at the NFL
for
level.
sure.
So I don't think he makes the roster, but if he does, it's a special teams guy for sure.
It'd be nice if we could get a guy like a Matthew Slater, who's a cornerback and just develops into a really goated special teams player for his entire career,
Yeah.
but very unlikely. So our last pick, and potentially a guy that could have a lot of impact because of certain bodies in the D tackle room, Jawan Briggs out of Cincinnati. Maybe another guy that could, kind of put Siaki Ika on notice there.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of wonder. I wish we could have a direct phone to Andrew Barry, and the first thing I would ask him with this is like, did you actually know anything about him, or did you just need to make a pick and this is who you picked? Because Juwan Briggs, 6'1", 313. There's not a lot of good, really. Um, he's solid in run D, and he was a team captain. That's kind of the only good things I can say about him. He wasn't good in pass defense. And as far as what you mentioned, yeah, maybe his run defensive ability is kind of a fire on Siaki Ika for sure. I could see that, but the problem is he's a seventh round pick, man. Like, I'd be surprised if he even makes the practice squad. I
Yeah.
I just don't. I really do. I wonder if this was just Andrew Barrett was trying to trade the pick and nobody wanted to do it, and he was like, "Ah, screw it, take him." I guess like that.
Yeah,
It
pretty much.
makes no sense to me, but
So, what is your favorite pick of the draft, and what was your least favorite pick of the draft in terms of Cleveland
for the Browns, um, well, I guess my least favorite is Juwan Briggs. Like, I don't think he brings anything, but at the same time, he's a seventh round pick, so I'm not expecting him to. My favorite pick, um, I think Zinter in the long run will be the best, but my favorite pick is Mike Hall, Cleveland kid, dominant, went to Ohio State, guy who I thought was going to be a first round pick, if not high second round pick. Um, and he falls to the Browns after an interesting season. I think he's going to help out Myles Garrett a lot. I really do.
So my favorite pick is actually Zinter, just because I feel like we got a huge steal because of the injury, as unfortunate as it was. And this is a hot take, but I really think he would have been the first lineman off the board had he not snapped his leg. Maybe I'm sure a lot of people is going to argue that, but I think by far he's my favorite pick. He's going to be a consistent starter as long as he remains healthy in the future for the Cleveland Browns. Complete steal, a lot of heart, tough player, gritty player, the kind of guy you want in your locker room, especially on the line. He's never going to give up. He's going to fight every play. Perfect pick. My least favorite, I'm going on a limb here and say Jamari Thrash, just because I think there was better options available at the time. I think we probably could have picked a better wide receiver, but you know what? Whatever. Fifth round pick works out. Whatever. Cool. Doesn't work out. Cool. Uh, what players, and I know as Browns fans, we deal with this a lot. We've seen it a lot in the past, like Kyle Hamilton. Uh, one Bengal. Who the hell did Bengals take that year that we were gunning for?
The
Was it
safety,
last year? Yeah.
Jordan Battle.
Yeah. Jordan Battle. The Steelers have done it to us a few times. George Pickens. Like,
Yep.
players that you hated seeing going to other teams.
Well, there's a couple. So I was just kind of make it quick. But Roman Wilson going to the Steelers.
Yeah.
I don't like Roman Wilson as far as like I think he's a little bit of juju type player, but he's good. He's good, and of course he goes to Pittsburgh. Peyton Wilson going to the Steelers. He was a guy who some people thought was the number one linebacker in the class. Um, falls. I know he's had injury history. He's older. He goes to the Steelers. Wiggins, the corner, goes to Baltimore. I think that's a great pick for Baltimore. He's a really good player. And then with the Bengals, the only one I really didn't like or I'm not happy with is them getting Jermaine Burton. Like all in all, I was pretty happy. You know, the Steelers go offensive line, Bengals go offensive line. It certainly could have been worse. I do think the Steelers had a good draft. I think that the Ravens got some solid pieces, and I think the Bengals did okay. But could have been a lot worse. Still not happy that some of these teams got who they got, but I'll let you go first, and then I have a really big one that I want to talk about with this next topic.
So I agree with Jermaine Burton for sure. Roman Wilson. Obviously, I'm biased here, so I'm still going to say Audric Estime because I wanted the Browns to get him. Unfortunately, not the case. I was sad to see Sam Hartman go undrafted, but that's more just me as a Notre Dame fan because I do think he was worthy of a draft pick, even in a generational quarterback class. Estime, to key back to that, definitely one of my key ones. I really wish the Browns would have got him, but you know, what can you do? Beggars can't be choosers, unfortunately. But yeah, the big one, I'd say Jermaine Burton, because I mean, it gives Joe Burrow another weapon, and you know, if Joe Burrow can remain healthy, and I think a lot of people are underselling the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't think they're as bad as people think. I don't. Like, we all want to laugh. Oh, Burrow can't stay healthy. Everyone wants to leave. I don't. I think they'll be decent. Uh, Mitchell, the kid from Texas, you know, he was picked 2 picks before we could have got him, but
Yep.
I'm okay with Mike Hall Jr. I don't have many complaints when it comes to that. Even guys like Jonathan Brooks, like he was should have been there and he wasn't. I mean, luckily he went to the NFC. Take that. But you know, mostly it's your normal ones. It's Jermaine Burton, Estime again because biased, but that's really all.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else you want to add?
Um, I'll tie this into the next conversation we're gonna talk about. Did the Browns do enough? Did the Browns add everything we kind of feel like they needed to add? This is kind of my biggest problem with the draft. And again, I'm not mad whatsoever at Michael Hall Jr. I think that is going to be a great
Yeah.
pick. I think he's going to be a huge impact piece for the Browns for years forward. But you just mentioned it. Adonai Mitchell, A.D. Mitchell from Texas, goes 2 picks ahead of the Browns. I don't. First things first, I don't understand why he fell. I don't understand how he can go from being a guaranteed first round draft pick to going 52 overall. Especially when you have guys like Ricky Pearsall go in the first round. No hate to him, but
Yeah.
like,
I don't know. 49ers fans are pretty upset about that.
yeah, and I mean, but that's the thing is like, man, I thought, and maybe there's a chance he falls to us and Andrew Berry still doesn't pick him and we'd be pissed still. But Adonai Mitchell is a number one receiver. Like, he is going to be a very good receiver in the NFL. And he ran way faster than what I thought he was going to run. Not that I thought he was slow, but man, the Colts got an absolute steal. I think that's going to be the steal of the draft, especially with
I agree.
Pittman, Downs, him. Like, bro, if I were GM, I would he would have been a Cleveland Brown. I can tell you that. Like he would have been a Brown. But
I can agree with that.
again,
So like you said, did the Browns do enough? I think we did enough with what we had to work with, but overall, I think we could have made some moves, and that's
yeah.
basically what I'll leave it at. I'm sure
Yeah,
you share the same opinion.
no, I agree. And there was some reports out there that Andrew Berry tried to make some moves and tried to trade, and there was just no biters, which I get. I understand. Makes sense, especially where the Browns were picking. It was kind of a weird spot, middle of the second round. But did we do enough? I think you got two really, really, really good players. And the Browns, like you said, haven't had a first round pick for a long time. And we've gotten impact players every single year. Every single draft, we've gotten at least one impact player. I think this year we got two. And you're lucky to even get one. So, it's hard to tell. Ask me this question at the end of next year.
Yeah. So maybe the Browns found their fit. Plenty of teams found their fit throughout the draft. Speaking of finding your fit, this is Derek's favorite part. Speaking of finding your fit, TwoOneFits.com. Visit TwoOneFits.com like you see on the screen right now. Browns, Cavs, Guardians, T-shirts, hoodies, dog bowls, dog bandanas, DF sports merch. He's breathing in my ear right now. I can hear him breathing in my ear instead of,
Hello,
making
Tony.
sure that I mention. He's talking to me right now. Stop, Derek. Get out of my head. Yeah. TwoOneFits.com.
Don't mess up.
Get your merch.
Don't mess up.
Derek, get back on the screen.
I'm a mouse living in your beard. All right, we're back.
Yeah, TwoOneFits.com. I'm going to get a 2-1-Fits tattoo next.
Hey, might as well add to the collection.
Welcome back from the 2-1-Fits ad read. Let's get back into some football. What are your initial thoughts on the NFL draft and how it unfolded?
It was absolutely absurd. Like the fact that you had six quarterbacks in the top 10, I think
Yeah.
it was absurd. The Bears leave the draft with Caleb Williams and Romo Dunze. That's crazy. Brock
That is
Bowers.
insane.
Brock Bowers slipping, and then no defensive players being picked until pick 15. Wild.
Yeah, generational offensive draft. Yeah, I think it was a crazy offensive draft, probably the most stacked quarterback class of all time. I like how everything unfolded, and a lot of teams are going to be fun to watch this year. What was your shocking moment of the draft?
Well, I'm gonna make this a two-parter because there's one obvious, and we'll get into it here in a second. But my kind of part two to that question, not that it was shocking because it made a ton of sense. There was a lot of links, but if you would have told me a couple years ago that Bo Nix would be a top 15 pick, I would tell you you're crazy.
Absolutely.
It's insane. So let's get the elephant out of the room here. We're going to talk about Michael Penix going to the Falcons. But, Tony, before we talk about that, any other kind of crazy draft?
Obviously, the Michael Penix thing. And, well, I'd be crazy not to mention this for the wrestling fan. Tony Khan showing up in a neck brace. Next week, hey, let's put it this way. If I would have seen Derek on Friday, he might be rocking a neck brace this week and next week too. Pause. But yeah.
What do you mean by that?
I don't know. That was crazy to me. Shout out to Tony Khan for keeping kayfabe alive as much as possible and getting a lot of mainstream coverage for his company and his team. Can't be mad about the neck brace drip. But yeah, the Michael Penix situation. Atlanta, I mean, honestly, kind of said, fuck you, Kirk Cousins. If you get hurt or you play bad, we're replacing you immediately after giving him a guarantee. And can we talk about that? I don't know who Kirk Cousins' agent is, but that boy is the GOAT. He continues to get this man guaranteed contracts. I don't know how. But yeah, Derek, I'll let you speak your piece on the Michael Penix situation. Oh, and by the way, you see I don't know if this was real or not, but did you see the graphic that the Atlanta Falcons put out?
No.
Maybe it wasn't real. Maybe I'm getting like duped on this, but I don't know how to type this into Google without pulling up some really weird search results.
Well, you look that up. I'll say my piece here. Um, the Falcons were linked to Michael Penix before the draft, and I was of the assumption of, hey, it's silly season right before the draft. They're looking for somebody who might want to trade up with them, something like that. But man, they end up going Michael Penix Jr. And I think there's two ways to look at this. There's A, the player they're getting, and B, the situation. So looking at the A part of this, Michael Penix Jr. is worth every bit of being the 8th overall draft pick. He is an unbelievable quarterback. I'm so unbelievably happy that he got picked before J.J. McCarthy because that was deserved. Michael Penix Jr. is, in my opinion, I think he's closer to the Drake, May, Jaden Daniels conversation than he is the others. Like, he was that good. He consistently in college made NFL throws, threw into tight windows, threw guys open. Yes, he had good receivers around him, but he helped them become what they were, right? And yeah, there's the injury questions. There's him playing in college football for a long time, questions about it. But he's been healthy the last 2 years, and he's dominated college football as far as from the quarterback position the last 2 years. So anybody who says Michael Penix Jr. isn't worthy of the number 8th overall selection, you are wrong. You're wrong. He absolutely, no way. No way. Is that real?
That's what I was trying to find. I couldn't tell if that's a real or a fake graphic.
No way. That's
no exactly way. What I was trying to find. But I didn't want to type Falcon's penis into the fucking Google search.
Yeah, that probably would not have gone well. You would have learned about the animal anatomy.
Curiosity might get the best of me. I still might Google it.
Jeez. That's
what I was trying to figure out.
That's interesting.
I don't think it's real. There's no way.
I don't know. I have no idea. I kind of wish I would have seen that sooner to double check. I assume it's taken down by now if it is real.
Well, yeah, if it's real, it's gone.
But yeah, back to the discussion. I don't know how to recoup from that, but so yeah, Michael Penix Jr., the player, great, fantastic. I think he's going to be a great quarterback. So what's the problem here? What is the thought process with this? Right? You just signed Kirk Cousins to a big contract for, I want to say it was like 4 years. And this is the same Falcons team that allegedly didn't want to pursue Lamar Jackson. And then a year later, they go out and sign Kirk Cousins to a big contract. Okay, whatever. Kirk's the guy. Okay, that's fine. Well, then you turn around and draft Michael Penix Jr., and it's like, all right, what are we thinking here? Because as much as I love Michael Penix Jr., he's 23 years old. This is nothing similar to the Jordan Love situation. Jordan Love fell to the Packers. They were picking later in the draft. He was young. He needed development. I think Michael Penix is honestly the most pro-ready quarterback in this draft. I genuinely think he is. And the dude is getting drafted to a spot where, I mean, who knows when he's going to play. So from the Falcons standpoint, I don't understand it. I don't get it.
I think they're banking on a security blanket if Kirk's, Achilles doesn't heal properly and he gets hurt again.
Yeah, it could be, but I will say this. These things have a funny way of working themselves out. So I'm not rooting for Cousins to get hurt, and I'm not rooting for him to play bad. But, Tony, I predicted this yesterday. I'll predict it again today. I think Michael Penix Jr. will take some snaps at starting quarterback this season. Some way, somehow.
I wouldn't be surprised if they run packages for him in game as a backup.
Yeah, I kind of feel bad for him because he is so talented and he deserves to play as soon as possible. Like if they drafted JJ McCarthy, for instance, someone who in my eyes needs
Clearly needs
development.
yes.
Yes, somebody like that. What that makes sense because then you can say, okay, he can sit for a year or two, whatever, and then you can figure it out. Penix is somebody that I don't think really needs that long to develop. So I don't understand, Tony. I don't understand.
So, to you, does that make the Atlanta Falcons a winner or a loser draft this year? And who are your winners and who are your losers? You had to pick one team for each. Who won the most and who lost the most in this year's draft?
Well, I think the winner is the team that seems to win every year in the draft, and that's the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean,
For sure.
they have every corner available when they
They
pick, and
made they've been killing it on the defensive side of the football as of late. Nakobe Dean, uh, now
Jalen
Cooper
Carter.
DeJean, Jalen Carter. Yeah, they've been killing it on the defensive side of the football.
Yeah,
Howie Roseman is stacking up an incredible team.
yeah.
They're going to win a Super Bowl within the next 3 years, and that's a bold prediction for me.
I honestly, if they get rid of Sirianni, I think you're right, but I don't think as long as Sirianni's there, I kind of think he's a little bit of a clown. But they're my winners. I mean, they got Cooper DeJean, they got Quinion Mitchell, they got a lot. They got a lot. They got Tino's favorite player of the entire draft. The receiver, I'm forgetting his name right now, but regardless, not the point. But yeah, they're my winners. And then I guess I have to go. You know what? No, I'm not. I'm gonna be different. I'm gonna say the Denver Broncos are the losers of this draft. I was talking to a Broncos fan today, and he was all excited about Bo Nix. I think Bo Nix sucks. I think he's mobile Mac Jones. I think they are going to continue the suck in Denver. Now they did end up getting Estime, your guy. They did end up getting Troy Franklin, who had a shocking fall, but that team needs a lot of help. And I don't think for a minute Bo Nix is the man to lead the way into the future for the Denver Broncos. I just don't think that's it.
So to go over the Eagles draft real quick, Quinion Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Jalix Hunt, Will Shipley, another great pick.
Mm-hmm.
Ania Smith, who is the wide receiver you were trying to think of, and then JTJ, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., Trevor Keegan, Johnny Wilson, Dylan McMahon, and I believe that's it. Great draft by Howie Roseman and the Eagles. They are my winners. You know what? I'm gonna call the Vikings the losers here because they went out and got JJ McCarthy, and I think they're gonna throw him into the fire. And Green Bay, Chicago, and Detroit are gonna absolutely eat him up inside the NFC North. And I don't think bold, very hot take here, may end up being worse than Joey Harrington.
Who, JJ?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Here's the thing. JJ sucks.
Unless they have running backs that stay healthy that he can turn around and hand the football off to, which is the only thing, sound like you right now. The only thing he's good at, I'm going to go on my little Derek impression here. He's going to have to be a game manager, essentially, to succeed with Minnesota. But that's why the Vikings are my losers, because I just don't like the J.J. McCarthy pick. I know you need a quarterback, but I would have went a different direction.
Yeah. I think JJ is going to suck. I think he's not a good NFL quarterback, but he went to the perfect spot for him. I mean, the Vikings run the ball, and he's got Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and TJ Hawkinson.
He's got a good supporting cast, but as we know as Cleveland Browns fans, that doesn't always matter.
Yeah.
You can have the best supporting cast in the world if your quarterback can't throw the football. I mean, we had OBJ and Jarvis Landry, and Baker was too busy getting some sucky suck behind the Cheesecake Factory. I'm a fat bitch.
You probably had that many times.
Not behind the Cheesecake Factory.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think the Vikings getting Dallas Turner, I think, is going to be their saving grace.
Oh yeah, I agree. I don't like the quarterback pick. That's why I'm just hating on Minnesota right now.
Yeah. No, I will 100% be rooting for Minnesota to fail. I don't like JJ. I'm sick of. I guess it just you could call me a hater, call me whatever you want. Obviously, I'm an Ohio State fan, but like if he's good, I'm gonna admit he's good. I just haven't seen him be good. I've seen him hand the ball off his whole career.
Game manager.
Tell me how that's an NFL quarterback, please. I don't know, but you have anything else you want to add on that?
Well, moving on from honkies and bad decisions, let's get into honky of the week.
Yep. So
who's the honky of the week this week, Derek?
So the weekly coveted prize, the honky of the week this week is David Tepper. Don't know if there's gonna be any sort of
picture this week or
yeah, but David Tepper. I didn't really know a whole lot about this until we jumped on here. But apparently there was a sign at a Carolina restaurant that said, let the GM, let the head coach make the picks this year, right? And Panthers fans, I don't know why I said that weird. Panthers fans. Oh, dude, pause for a second. I saw the funniest thing. Nobody will find it funny. I thought it was hilarious. I watched it over and over again. Somebody put Xavier Legette's introductory interview, right? The start of it. And you know his accent, right?
Yeah, is it Boomhauer?
No. So it was Xavier Legette's introductory interview. Behind it was To Be Your Man by Josh Turner. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. And then it cut into his highlights. I watched that video over and over and over and over. I don't know why.
I seen a tweet that said Xavier Legette sounds like Boomhauer, and now I can't unhear it.
Yeah. But, how do you feel about playing in Carolina? Yeah, man, my parents would be able to go down the road. And it's like, bro, it's just hilarious. I love it. I love him. I wanted him to be a Brown. I know a lot of people hated him, but.
So, I agree, David Tepper, honky of the week. This is a man that owns 2 North American pro sports franchises. I don't think it's a coincidence that those 2 franchises happen to be the respective worst teams in their league. Charlotte FC in Major League Soccer, awful. Carolina Panthers in the National Football League, awful. All I'm saying is Carolina fans, keep him far, far away from the Hurricanes. They actually have an outside shot at taking home a Stanley Cup this year. And if you get a baseball team, you better hope he's not in the ownership group, or it's going to be a very long lifespan.
Yeah.
Yeah. David Tepper, honky of the week.
Did we share why he's honky of the week?
Basically, he went into a restaurant, the restaurant that had the sign that said, let the coach and the GM make the picks, and he threw a hissy fit. I don't know. Can we show that on here? That'll do it for us this week, unless you have anything else you want to add, Derek.
We're in the boring times now.
Yeah.
We're in the boring times. The draft is over. Free agency's over. Now you're watching Twitter for the camp videos and hoping training camp comes soon.
We'll have plenty of content for you to sit here and watch throughout the dead period of the summer. Yeah. Like, share, subscribe. Join us next week. Go Browns. Peace.